there are rules for all these franchises. These rules exist. Certain characters have names, certain abilities have origins, and all these things. And we fall in love with franchises specifically. And Jed, you've mentioned this in the past because these worlds, these rules are unique in ways. The rules of Middle Earth are fun because they are grounded yet high fantasy at the same time. We can get our head around it. Star Trek, it's science fiction with a little bit of science fact mixed in there, which allows us to relate to it and think, man, maybe one day we can do it like Star Trek. We can go out to the stars like that. Star Wars is science fantasy. It's science fiction, but it's got a big fantasy spin on it. But there are rules built in. The same is with DC superheroes and Marvel superheroes. These rules are built in. Mutants are mutants. Metahumans are metahumans. Things happen to get powers. And when you change how people get their powers, when you change how the world can interact with the locked in stone rules that for comics, for DC Marvel, it's been 60, 70 years, 80 years in some cases that some of these rules have been locked into place. Star Trek, it's been 60 years. It's been 60 years that shit's been locked in place. Star Wars, going on 50 years. It's been locked in place. We love it because it makes sense to us. But what gets me is we just talked about it. Dre, you mentioned it. These people who want to do it, who change it just for these superficial things. They're happy with that. Yet they don't understand that when you make a superficial change, when you make one little thing to either make it look a little different or have something play out a little different, it breaks it. You brought up we showed it down with the D stuff, but I'm going to use this example right now for Star Wars. Here we go. The shills are still coming out strong. They're really coming on strong for all this stuff. I came upon this one the other day. Who cares if light speed is a weapon, is mass destruction? Star Wars is full of mass destruction. It's fantasy. It's space opera. It's about teaching kids good lessons. The Holdo maneuver is about sacrifice, not science. Jed, I see you just died a little inside with that.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Have at
just it. So yeah, like Adam said, these universes, these franchises have been built with internal consistency, internal logic, and that makes them stand up as well-written masterpieces in a lot of cases. And that is absolutely essential for the integrity of the story. That's something I talked about last night with Princess Bride, is with internal logic, internal consistency, we can explain away a lot of things that couldn't exist or couldn't work in our real world with real world logic. And of course, Star Wars operates on different laws than the real world. We don't have force capabilities. I can't double jump. I'm sorry. I wish I could. I'm not black enough, I guess.
Man.
But
I could be in the NBA.
I could be in the NBA. But
and you're a ginger, so you have no soul.
And I'm a Jew, so I can't have good motion, I guess. I don't know.
Only person here that can double jump is me.
I can't palm a ball. I can't palm a ball either.
But inherently, at least for intelligent audience members, or at least audience members who are invested, that's a better way of putting it, audience members who are invested, it eradicates the sacrifice. It makes her sacrifice mean so much less if it doesn't make sense internally. Like, there's been films where, The Last Jedi, another great example of it is when, what's her bucket, Rose Tico, crashes into John Boyega, Finn, and stops him from blowing up the laser that's going to crack open the base. And she says, oh, it was about love, and they're sacrificing everyone else to keep Finn alive, or whatever it is. It doesn't make sense, and so it means so much less to us. There's a lot of examples of that where the logic of it means so much more. I think a great example of how to do something like the Holdo maneuver right in a way that makes sense is Independence Day, when Randy Quaid's character sacrificed himself flying up into that laser, and it reversed the power of the laser back into the ship, and that made sense to everyone, and we built up the character. We saw how his death affected everyone else, so that sacrifice meant something to us because it fit within the internal logic and the internal rules of that film. This is how the alien tech works. Great, we can work with this. But this contradicts everything about the Star Wars universe without setup. Like, if they'd taken some time to build up, maybe there's different circumstances here, maybe there's this, maybe there's that, they can make it work within the laws of the universe. I'm sure a talented writer could. But in this, they're just like,
Not Ryan Johnson.
bam. Yeah, definitely not Ryan Johnson. But they just had this crazy, over-the-top, impossible thing by the universe's own rules happen. And it's left most of us going, huh?
And because we asked this question when Last Jedi happened. If this was a move that was legitimate, all you'd have to do is put a droid in any snub fighter and launch it to something. They didn't need to get those torpedoes down the air shaft into Death Star 1. They didn't do that.
They just need some kamikaze pilots.
Yeah, just drop an astromech in an X-Wing and tell it to go, because X-Wings have hyperdrives.
Just blast it through
the
Death Star.
It would tear right through it. Or it would tear, it may not blow it up, but it would cause enough secondary explosions that it would be a chain reaction inside it. And so when you do something like this for the effect, of having that shot of the crack in the ship and you break the rules. And you got people like this that come out and say it's about sacrifice, not science. It's fantasy, and then they love to throw in, it's made for kids. Why bother on? Don't you love how whenever they're losing the argument, suddenly Star Wars is made for kids again?
Yep. Whenever it serves their purpose, it's for kids.
Yeah. It goes from it's a great series. It's for promoting women and this and that, promoting the not so secret agenda. But it's made for kids. So shut up, bigot.
And I have a question. I was looking over this stoned Star Wars theory. I don't want to know what that means.
Yeah.
It says about teaching kids good lessons.
Yeah, when you think a little deeply in that, sacrificing yourself.
What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
What the heck do you mean by this? It's okay for you to, off yourself if that's if things are inconvenient? I don't know what that means. Well, I don't look at the holdo maneuver, whatever they call it. I don't know what that broad pink hair, like that broad's move.
Vice Admiral Gender Studies, as we used to call her.
There you go, perfect. Like, I don't look at her move as a self-sacrificing move. It was illogical and made absolutely zero sense, even the context of the story.
Especially because she wouldn't communicate with Poe.
What are we talking about? Like just think about how that entire movie went with their interactions. This is the type of role models you want for children? You're crazy. You're talking insane.
I think there's an example that I actually just saw last night. I saw Godzilla -1 last night for the first time. Absolutely adored it. I don't want to get into spoilers of it, but there's a very important plotline regarding not necessarily the morality of kamikaze pilots, but about the effects of a kamikaze pilot on the pilot's mentality, on the family members near him, and stuff like that. And it's all culminating in, will he or will he not kamikaze? And it really delves into, is this a role model for his child or his adopted child and stuff like that? It really dives into, is this a good, that makes it a good lesson for kids because they actually explore the concept. So if you want to go something like that, have these kids watch Godzilla. Don't have them watch holdover maneuver, because this is just don't tell anyone what's happening, cause a shit ton of problems, make 45 minutes of pointless side quests with Finn. Literally, that movie is, 20 minutes long if Holdo just tells Poe what her plan is. So much of that movie is unnecessary.
Yeah.
A lot of people died.
Because she just wouldn't communicate.
But we have to have space bombing look like World War II bombing. And
then they made Poe seem like the bad guy for wanting to know that information. Even at the end, he admitted he was wrong. It's no.
I saw some... There was a lot of Holdo stuff this last week. I saw some people saying, man, Poe would have been so destroyed if he should have had consequences for his behavior. These stands, again, they don't understand structure. There's a military structure here that has existed in Star Wars, usually portrayed by the Empire, but there is a chain of command. You have to hold on to stuff for it to make sense. They had a right to mutiny against this purple-haired bitch.
Oh,
100%.
absolutely.
100%.
Now, remember, they also did this because Carrie Fisher died in the movie.
Mhm.
Dead. Didn't finish reshoots. So they had to literally write her out. Of course, let's not use the perfect write-out opportunity of Space Mary Poppins.
Boy.
That would have been the perfect moment to just, get her out completely. No, we're going to have her be in a coma most of the movie. And then so that we have to somehow dance around the fact that we can't have Carrie Fisher on screen because she did. But this whole go say something. I was going to move on to the next one.
And I think the thing that makes this so much worse is the damage control that J.J. Abrams tried to do. The fact that he said this is a 1 in a million maneuver.
Yeah,
I think that actually makes it worse, honestly.
It makes it a whole lot worse.
Yeah.
It makes it now not only pointlessly inexplicable, but now why would anyone want to do that?
Why try it?
Why? That's what I'm
Why
saying.
risk
Like,
it all?
Yeah.
I'm like, and how is the 1 in a million work? Is there math involved? Is there some type of calculation that we didn't see?
No, it's feminism.
Like, to me, it went to hyperspace in a different direction.
It's feminism. That's what.
Well, that movie had its own problems with hyperspace internal logic with the hyperspace skipping.
All Disney Star Wars has a problem with Star Wars hyperspace. They don't take into account. It still takes time. It's not instantaneous. Sometimes hours, sometimes days. If you're going across the galaxy, it can take
months.
Days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Force Awakens.
And you need lanes. There are charts that you follow. The Hylian or Hylian. I always get that wrong. Well, there are lanes that are safe to go through where you're not going to bounce off a supernova, to quote Han Solo, or you're not going to run into a black hole because
that would be important. There's a lot of dangerous stuff in space, but no, in Force Awakens, you can go into hyperspace from inside a hangar bay without destroying the ship.
What the heck was that?
Or come out of hyperspace in a planet's atmosphere.
Yeah. What the heck was that? None of that stuff made sense to me.
It goes back. They break the rules to fit themselves so they can have nice, shiny things. And then you get something like this. This guy right here. This guy's a fun one. I've seen him a lot lately.
Is his name Man?
Man. Yes, Man. He's Stan the Man. Man the Stan, I guess.
Him, mosh pit.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. He's responding to one of my favorite shills.
Jacob, something special.
Yeah, that dude, there is something retarded. I'm just saying, there's something retarded about this guy. He tweets more than Dermy does. That's how bad he is.
That's deep.
Yeah, deep. So in reply to Jacob, period, going, I don't know if it was necessarily planned or not. This dude seems to conveniently forget every week that there was no plan in Disney Star Wars.
They've admitted it. It's not speculation.
Yeah, I post that article screenshot all the time when Jar Jar says they had no plan. But he conveniently forgets all the time. But Snoke, honestly, is perfect foreshadowing for Palpatine's eventual return in hindsight.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. There's no foreshadowing. Remember the whole who is Snoke? Your Snoke theories are joke. Retarded. But this guy replies to it. It's odd that we've allowed the haters to transform the conversation into whether the story was planned or not. That has never been the conversation around Star Wars films in the entire 40-year history until 2017, where it was suddenly made an issue. My response to this was, no, it wasn't an issue because everything in Star Wars made sense for 35 years.
And it was pretty extensively planned out.
Yeah.
George put some effort into what he was doing.
There were no questions because we didn't have to ask any questions. The only questions were, can I see the Mustafar battle? How's it going to play out?
Yeah,
you guys, what's it going to look like?
What is the earliest year that you guys knew the Mustafar battle existed?
Oh, I knew about it in the 80s at some point.
Okay,
but my little kid mind thought it was acid, not lava. Somewhere I saw it. So my little kid jumbo mind thought it was that, but I knew about it, and we knew
that's a great example, though. We didn't see the Mustafar battle until 2005, but we knew about it from the 80s. That's called planning. Yep. That's called he knew what he was doing.
George always knew there was the fight. He just hadn't completely worked it out yet, but we always knew there was he always knew there was the fight. And that's the thing. The foundation. the history, the lore, the source material. It's back to what we already talked about. It's built on something. And these guys come in and then claim we're the ones breaking it apart when the stuff they're constantly championing is what's shattering it. We're the haters. We're the ones making a problem. No, we are simply trying to say respect what happened first. That's your problem. That's Disney Star Wars' problem. That's every franchise that disrespects its lore. Doctor Who, JJ Trek, Kurtzman Trek. They do not respect what came before. And that's when the problem happens. It falls apart. This house of cards cannot stand because you remove the foundation of the franchise in order to push usually your agenda. This is stupid. So, no, we question this stuff because we make it an issue about whether or not all this stuff connects because we saw it didn't connect. We pointed it out. It made sense to us when we saw all these things happening for this several year period that none of this makes sense. None of these outcomes, none of these setups. There's no, as Jed and I always like to talk about, there's no setup for these payoffs. There's no verisimilitude. It's not there. And now they try to turn it on and say, you're the ones with the problem. No, you're the problem. And to continue our discussion from last week, a discussion I carried into the week, we will be the gatekeepers. We will stand here fully armored, armed, and operational to keep you out of our franchises, to save what's left. It is not an insult. It is an honor, and it is a badge of honor I will proudly wear. Get these guys, man. It's retarded. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you'd like to reach out to me, please email me at theranernerd@gmail.com for all channel business purposes. I am on Twitter now, mostly for promotion and sharing of videos, maybe a little shit stirring here and there, who knows, @theranernerd. You can also find me at the Geeks and Gamers forums under @ROAS, and you can see me on Rumble and Odyssey under the Renaissance Nerd. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy.